They never talk about the smell. You'll hear about the grief, the trauma, the strange cases, the quiet rooms, the late nights. But not the smell. It's not just the smell of death. That you get used to. Formalin, cavity fluid, body bags, even decomposition. It becomes part of your professional senses. You respect it, you manage it, you work through it. But every once in a while something doesn't stay behind when you clock out. And sometimes, it follows you home. This one started like any other late case. A removal call just before sundown. Man in his early 50s, found in the basement of a flood-damaged property out in Brookdale. Power had been off for 4 days after a bad storm. Basement had filled up. He wasn't found until the water started to recede. I was told the coroner had cleared it, no foul play. Just tragic timing. The gentleman had apparently been trying to retrieve something off a shelf when he slipped, hit his head, drowned before anyone even knew he was missing. We took the body in that night. Standard chain of custody, proper PPE, no shortcuts. The body was soaked through. His skin had that pale, waterlogged look we sometimes call washerwoman effect. Soft, pruny, beginning to slough. Temperature outside was still high, so decomposition had already kicked in despite the submersion. I've embalmed drownings before. I've seen worse. But this one had a weight to it, a kind of silence that lingered in the prep room even after the aspirator stopped running. We began the embalming the same night. His family wanted a private viewing, just 1 hour. His wife couldn't bear the idea of a closed casket. He was bloated from submersion, so I had to use a higher index solution. One meant for edematous cases. Restricted cervical injection. One side at a time. Facial tissue was delicate and needed manipulation to prevent swelling. I spent extra time positioning his features. Hands folded, mouth set, eyes closed gently with caps. And then there was that smell. It wasn't the sour sweet of decomposition, or the antiseptic sting of formaldehyde. It was different, a kind of acidic dampness, sharp, sulfuric, like wet matches, or scorched paper that never caught flame. I've smelled mold. I've smelled mildew. This wasn't that. It stuck to everything. The air, the apron, my gloves, the corners of the room. I thought it might just be the waterlogged clothing. He'd come in fully dressed, and we'd had to cut everything away. After the prep, I scrubbed down the table, rinsed the tools in glutaraldehyde, and tossed my apron in the disinfectant bucket. I ran my hands under scalding water, used citrus scrub, even wore a separate clean shirt to drive home. But the moment I stepped through the door, my wife looked at me strange. She didn't say anything at first, just wrinkled her nose. I said I'd handled a bad case. She nodded. We went on with dinner. That night I showered, twice. Still the smell was there, subtle, but present, in the folds of my skin, behind my ears, under the nails. I kept catching hints of it every time I moved, like something was clinging just beneath the surface. By the next morning, it had embedded itself in my clothes, even freshly laundered ones. My wife said the bedroom smelled like sulfur. She stripped the sheets, lit candles. Nothing helped. It wasn't just smell anymore. It was memory. That wet, unnatural stillness of the basement. The way his hands looked, pale and swollen, like they were still grasping for something. I felt off. I felt heavy. I'm a rational man. I've dealt with traumatic deaths, suicides, even murder victims. But this was something else. Not gruesome, just wrong. On the second night, I woke up sweating. I had dreamed about the basement. Not just the man, but me standing in the water, alone, chest deep, and the lights above flickering. But here's the thing. The smell was in the dream, vivid, same as real life. I've never smelled something in a dream before. It took 2 full days for the scent to vanish. I washed everything, twice. I sat in the garage for hours, just trying to feel normal. That second night I almost drove back to the funeral home to re-clean the prep room. Not because I thought it needed it, but because I felt like I had left something unfinished. The family came in on the 3rd day. They stayed for only 20 minutes. His wife brought a small flower arrangement and placed it near the foot of the casket. She didn't cry, just stood there silent, calm. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. After they left, I stood by the casket and checked one last time that everything was set before sealing it. And I realized then that the smell wasn't just chemical or biological. It was emotional. It was the scent of stillness, of helplessness, of a life that ended face down in 4 feet of rainwater while the world spun on above. We embalmers don't talk much about the emotional residue that comes with our work. We're trained to focus on technique, sanitation, presentation, but every so often, a case breaks through that professional shell. It's not always the violent ones, not always the mangled or the unrecognizable. Sometimes it's the quiet ones, the ones that smell like something no one else notices, the ones that follow you home, and stay, just long enough to remind you that every body on that table once had a voice, and sometimes if you're not careful, they find a way to speak, even if it's just through a smell you'll never forget. Hello friends, thank you for watching. A special shout out to our subscribers. You keep these eerie stories alive. But here's the thing, only 30% of viewers are subscribed. If you enjoy our content, hitting subscribe helps us more than you know. It takes a second, but makes a huge difference. While you're at it, like and share to keep the chills coming. Thanks again. You made this possible. See you in the next one, if you dare.